Hello, good afternoon. It's Frank Johnson here, and our guest this afternoon is Mr. Monopoly, also known as Mr. Moneybags, self-appointed chief philosopher and spokesman for all investor-owned utilities to talk with us about Xcel Energy's 15-year plan for Minnesota. Good day, Mr. Monopoly, and thanks very much for being here with us.
Good morning, Frank. The honor is centralized, large scale, and exclusively mine.
Uh, okay. Well, now just at the top here for folks at home who want to comment on this plan anytime before January 15th deadline, send us a comment below and we'll connect you to the Speak Up process. So, all right, let's get into Xcel's 15-year energy plan for Minnesota. According to Xcel's filing, they are proposing to build a new fossil gas plant, or natural gas, as some have called it, in 2027 at the site of the two retiring coal plants in Becker, Minnesota. Meanwhile, Xcel Energy Colorado plan stated, quote, "We are not building any new gas generation, reducing the risk of stranded costs," unquote. So could you, Mr. Moneybags, please explain this? Is the utility not concerned about stranding costs in Minnesota?
Yeah, until Minnesota catches on, no, not really. Different strokes for different folks, as they say, or as I like to say, different bait for different states.
Wow, let's try to walk viewers through what a stranded asset is so they can make a judgment themselves. What is the expected lifespan of Xcel's new proposed fossil gas plant in Becker?
That's a great question, Frank. Really remarkable, sturdy things gas plants are. They last about 40 years.
Yeah, wow, 40 years. So if I've got my math right, it wouldn't be retired until 2067. And that's long past the 2050 deadline Xcel promised to go uh, carbon neutral. Isn't that so? I mean,
Mm.
as an aside for our viewers here, carbon neutral officially refers to all greenhouse gas emissions, including methane, which is a potent emission from fossil gas extraction.
Well, certainly, Frank, utilities have already thought of that, gamed out the scenarios, and there is nothing to worry about there.
Mr. Monopoly, could you elaborate on that, please?
Sure, whenever the state realizes finally that fossil gas does much more harm than good, Xcel can just shut the new gas plant down early and get back all of its $1 billion investment. So, no financial burden whatsoever.
No financial burden. What a deal for you, of course. Can you clarify for our viewers how that works exactly? So, Xcel investors pay for the construction of the gas plant. Customers pay to use the gas plant for the first few years, but then it closes after year 10. What then?
Well, so a few years before the announcement of the plant's closing, its inevitable closing, Xcel can just go to the state, ask for a rate increase to get faster and bigger payments from customers. It's a pretty standard process. Xcel gets all $1 billion in year 10 or shortly thereafter, and voila, we are made whole again.
I I see. And by we, you mean
Shareholders, mostly just shareholders.
okay. All right. Moving on from that disturbing and honest answer. Fossil gas has a climate impact that is about as damaging as coal when the entire process is factored in. How can you possibly paint this as a climate solution, even in the short term?
Oh, it's easy. Usually words like natural gas, flexibility, bridge fuel, and fuel diversity do the trick. I mean, really, what monster would advocate for unnatural, rigid, and monofuel supremacy? We certainly wouldn't dream of it. I don't know about you.
Let's look at ideas of flexibility. Numerous studies have concluded that distributed small scale solar and wind, coupled with widespread energy efficiency and storage, are actually more reliable, more flexible, and more resilient than the big centralized power plants like the fossil gas plants Xcel's company is proposing.
Well, sure, any engineer worth their salt knows that. But we like to practice what I would call trickle down decision making here, just like we practice trickle down economics. The CEOs and upper management make the decisions and reap high rewards that trickles down to the engineers to model as many scenarios as they want, as long as they include gas. And that trickles down to the customer to
Um,
decide if they want to pay for the volatile price of gas on a budget plan or a normal one.
Customers do have a bit more choice than that, even as it is now, Mr. Monopoly, to start filling up our energy grid with resources beyond fossil fuel, right? For example, Xcel was mandated in 2013 to allow community solar gardens, where non-utility groups, including communities or individuals, can build and benefit from their own solar energy.
Yes, I'm well aware, and we've gotten a lot of well-deserved pats on the back for complying
Yeah,
with state law.
if I may just cite some figures here, in 2018, alone, more than 200 new megawatts of solar were added through this state mandated program. For our viewers, that's enough to power about 40,000 homes. It was odd to find, however, that Xcel's 15-year plan forecasts a decline of approximately 90% in these small scale projects, with only 21 megawatts of new distributed rooftop and community solar per year from 2021 through 2034. So that amounts to only 273 megawatts total in that entire time frame. So, Mr. Monopoly, can you explain to our viewers why the company would estimate such a massive drop off?
Sure, I'm happy to explain the drop off. That is due to monopoly, rather market condition.
Right. Clearly, it's not an issue with solar itself. Xcel's plan adds an unprecedented amount of company owned solar at the same time as it drops nearly all of its customer owned solar. So, can you elaborate, Mr. Monopoly, on why these two options?
No, listen, people should trust utilities to take care of renewables. Xcel's plan proposes to add over 3,500 megawatts of utility scale solar by 2030. And that's 17 times what these little solar guys could pull off any
So,
day.
what about these repeated claims filed against Xcel by small scale solar groups for disrupting what little competition is allowed with excessive delays?
Look, alleged claims, right? Bigger is better, okay? Centralized power is traditional power. It's what we've been doing for more than a century. Bigger is better, and better is bigger profits for us. The harder people fight us and our control over market share, the more of their own money it takes for us to lobby our way forward. So, therefore, at the end of the day,
What-
it's cheaper for everyone to just go along with our plan. And we're already in the top 5 spenders at the Capitol. So, everyone just sit back, relax, politely agree with us at public hearings, and let the utilities do the job you've already hired us to do.
we're almost out of time here, Mr. Monopoly, but just a quick fact check for our viewers that no one in the present day has technically hired you. Those contracts were begun in the early 1900s, over 100 years ago. And under state law, there are no other options than you.
Well, the future is what we make it then, I guess, huh? Ah,
Mr. Monopoly, thank you for your time. For viewers at home, to comment on the 15-year energy plan before the January 15th deadline, send a comment below and we'll connect you to the process. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.